She was also supervising the completion of the musical and some other storyboards. Sylvia would like to write story histories and synopses of the various Fantasia alternates now under review. The History of Music, which 10 years later would morph into the shorts Adventures in Music, Melody, and Toot, Whistle, Pluck, and Boom, was a project by which Sylvia was clearly enthused. Her pastel work on the different music sections shows passion and love for the subject. This passion was probably so obvious to Walt that he made sure all her projects were once again connected to music. In the second half of 1944, she was asked to research the music of the 19th century in the context of a combination live-action and animation feature about the life of Hans Christian Andersen and his friend Jenny Lind, which Disney and Samuel Goldwyn were planning to release jointly. The three projects that followed were also linked to music. The first of those was a precursor that would become the two silhouette sequence in Make My Music. Theo recalls this period. Mother was assigned to do storyboards for a romantic couple dancing their way through Paris. Her experience with this is worth recording as an almost supernatural event. She came home from the studio one evening and felt an urge to work on the feature. She set up her gouache paints and began to paint on black construction paper. As she worked, someone unseen took hold of her brush and painted with it in a dashing impressionistic style that was not hers. She continued to cooperate with the unseen guide, taking out more paper as needed, ending up with more than a dozen quickly made color sketches showing the couple prancing their way through various Paris scenes. The Muses and King Dagobert's Daughter. By early 1945, the studio was trying to salvage some of their musical pieces they had been developing since the early 1940s to combine with them in the package feature Make My Music. While the movie was eventually released as a simple compilation of shorts, for cost reasons, Walt was initially planning to include some transitions between the different segments. Sylvia was asked to develop a continuity featuring the Greek Muses. She wrote about this in a letter to Glenn on April 29, 1945. Work at the studio is getting quite complicated. I have been given the job of trying to tie 7 separate half-made numbers, more or less in the lines of Fantasia, into a feature-length picture, using the 9 muses of ancient Greece as the connecting link. Gosh, I would not take it very seriously except that my salary has been boosted to $95 a week, and the pay I get from outside work at the Disney Comics magazine has been doubled. So perhaps they really want me to do something for a change. No one is aging faster than our Mr. Disney himself. His last picture, The Three Caballeros, was voted a failure by all the critics, although it seems to be paying off all right. But his storymen don't seem to turn out the good stuff they used to. That is because they keep us all unhappy all the time and we can't be funny anymore. Probably that is why they handed me out a raise. Long overdue. I am still one of their old diehards. They have lost many of their best men to better paid jobs. For we'd all hate to see Walt down. It is just his personal department which is a pain in the neck. Thank your stars you don't work in a big firm big enough to have a personnel department. All they do is wear double-breast suits and shed their beams on all the pretty secretaries. I bet you do. Well, no offense meant, old dear. We call our double-breasted boys the junior commandos and strictly avoid taking any orders from them, which doesn't help the situation much. But as they were all either in high school or holding down jobs as department store floor workers when we first came to Disney's, you cannot blame us for resenting their art opinions. But of course, Burbank is very personnel conscious. The huge factories have more personnel experts than personnel, I do believe. But we're winning the war, so I suppose they did all right in spite of their double-breasted boys. Unfortunately, the end of World War II also brought a renewed jurisdiction war between Hollywood unions. Labor trouble was raising its ugly head again. In May of 1945, the fight between the Conference of Studio Unions and the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees Unions, which both claimed jurisdiction over Hollywood's set decorators, escalated into a 2-month strike. While the conflict did not affect Disney, Sylvia was upset by it. On November 26, 1945, she wrote to Glenn about following. I am at the moment doing ancient Greek research for Walt, and today busy going through a translation of Plato's Symposium of all things. Walt has a lot of big plans cooking. The studio strike, which was started by the set decorators, a branch of our union, Painters and Paper Hangers AFL, which lasted 8 months and lost the strikers $17 million in salaries, was an exceedingly unnecessary and dirty mess, ending in rioting with fire hoses, tear gas bombs, and blood. I got up at a meeting and said that if we had to get more pay at the expense of other people's lives, I wanted no part of it, and received a burst of applause. And I actually did almost lose my job, because the studio is under contract to employ only people in good union standing. I was so mad I wouldn't have cared. Fortunately, we have no set directors at Disney, so we were not hit by a picket line, but it glanced off us, so to speak, to the tune of a 5% assessment by the union of our salaries, under penalty of losing our jobs, which we are still paying. I tried refusing to pay it, in company with 210 other people, and we all received notices from the personnel department not to come to work the next day. Fortunately, we have no... By April 1946, with work completed on the Muses project, Sylvia submitted ideas for another music package. The first version of the story, written on April 8th and titled Vagabond Virtuoso, was an attempt to tie together the abandoned Fantasia numbers that Sylvia and Ethel Kulzar had developed in the early 1940s. Set in a medieval castle, narrated by Lionel Barrymore, and featuring a troupe of wandering minstrels, the project was conceived as a combination of live action and animation. It is suggested that the 4 wandering minstrels and the robber chief be done in live action, and that the stories which they sing and play would be in cartoon, wrote Sylvia in her treatment. The castle backgrounds against which the live action characters would appear would be stylized and loosely drawn in vigorous chalk and color sketches. The cartoon backgrounds could be completely imaginative, like pictures you see on tapestry, etc., etc. In each case, they would be done the way you would expect the singer or player to visualize them. The second version, written on April 26, was titled King Dagobert's Daughter. It retained the medieval setting and the episodic nature of the project. But while in the first version, one of the minstrels needed to win a contest to marry the girl he loved, in this new story, the troubadours had to entertain the sad daughter of Dagobert if they wanted to keep their lives. The most important variation, however, was the fact that instead of tying together the old Fantasia pieces, King Dagobert's Daughter would have featured modern numbers performed by Benny Goodman, the Mills Brothers, Tommy Dorsey, harpist Marcel Granjani, violinist Jascha Heifetz, and pianist Jose Iturbi Baguena, while the story would have been narrated by Burl Ives. As exciting as it sounded, the project did not get picked up and died on the vine. Things went from bad to worse for Sylvia just a few months later, as Sylvia related in a letter to Glenn dated September 3rd, 1946. The union trouble we were dreading has hit us with a bang, to the tune of causing Disney to lay off 40% of its employees. I am now laid off in company with the entire story department while they all fight it out. What happened was that the union demanded a 25% raise for everybody, or else. The studio said flatly that it could not afford to pay it. The union, having been deceived before by the prevaricating of the studio management, did not believe them and put over their strike threat. So the studio gave everybody their raise on Monday. The last week of July, $120 a week for me, and on Friday of the same week laid everyone off. It appears that they really couldn't pay, and I think the union business manager should have made it their job to have found out beforehand. But they never do anything as sensible as that. The 1946 layoffs, which occurred on August 1st, while often overlooked by history books, were a traumatic event. Not only were 450 employees affected by the measure, 300 ended up actually losing their jobs. But among those affected were some key members of Disney's story department, including James Boudreau, Campbell Grant, and Sylvia Holland. In other words, the event marked the end of the unbridled creativity of the studio. With a tighter story team, the ideas developed became more focused on projects that had a high probability of actually ending up on the screen. The freewheeling days of the 1930s and 1940s were over. After being laid off, Disney background artist Charlie Payzant invited Sylvia to join him and 3 other laid-off Disney artists, including Ernie Terrazas and Janet Page, to form a company producing elementary school readers for Whitman Publishing. She accepted, and the newly formed team rented a studio and worked together for 5 years. In 1947, Sylvia also worked at MGM for a short while, after which she became a successful commercial artist, tackling illustration projects for Macmillan Readers and the Chryson Card Company. A strong woman with an uncommon creative versatility, Sylvia Holland, along with arranger Ed Plum, was undeniably the soul of Disney's musical years. She passed away on April 14, 1974. To be continued.